NFL's roster deadline was just 2 hours ago. We'll tell you which players made the cut and which are looking for a new team. Cooper DeJean had a bust-out rookie campaign. We will hear from the Eagles defensive back and discussing his role entering year 2. And there hasn't been a repeat champion in the NFC East in more than 20 years. Will the quest for another division crown be easier or tougher for the Birds in 2025? And with that, welcome into Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL. Dave Zangaro, Barrett Brooks, Ashlyn Sullivan here with you. We told you at the top of the show the NFL roster deadline was at 4 o'clock. 32 teams getting their rosters down to 53 players. So now it's set. One player releasing his own roster news earlier in the day, taking matters into his own hands here. Linebacker DeJean posting this photo update on his Instagram story, telling fans, see y'all week 5, meaning he will begin this season on the PUP list, which is a mandatory 4-week stay. Dean suffered a torn left patellar tendon in the Eagles' playoff win over the Green Bay Packers, as we remember. So, Dave, no surprise here with DeJean. It is unfortunate he has to start here because he was tracking, thinking maybe he can get here at the end of training camp, but I think it was always unlikely he was going to start week 1.
Yeah, always very unlikely. I love the optimism from a player when they're recovering from an injury. They should have that. That's what kind of pushes them through that long rehab process, but this was always probably going to end up this way, and we'll see what happens in week 5, what kind of role he can carve out when he does get back.
Yeah, you know, man, I had that same injury. It made me retire. They told me somebody half my size, half my age, couldn't come back from it. It was supposed to be an 18-month injury. These new guys, the new innovations they have, he's back sooner than I really thought he was going to be back.
Yeah.
Half your age, half your size?
Yeah.
And Jacoby.
Exactly.
That works out, yeah.
And now we take a look at the other notable moves made by the Eagles as they trim their roster to 53 players. Wide receiver Anaya Smith, a 5th-round pick last season, was waived. Cornerback Eli Ricks also waived. And a pair of rookie 6th-round picks, quarterback Kyle McCord and linebacker Antoine Powell-Ryland. Howie Roseman spoke with the media this afternoon and said that after all the moves he's made, he's still looking for talent. That's tonight, Fresh Bite, presented by Atkins.
I would say we're not done here. We're not done. We'll see what happens in the next 24 hours. I think I said this the last time we spoke. We got a lot of picks here, and we're happy to use those picks in the draft. But I think for us, the early part of the season, September, we got to see what we have, and if we need something, I'll do whatever I can to help this football team and be aggressive. And Jeffrey gives me that opportunity to do that. And so, I don't think that we're done. I don't think this is necessarily, this is a work in progress.
Not giving me the keys quite yet.
Yeah, not yet. No, he's going to drive. But we're going to continue sitting together.
Well, now with all the changes, additions, and subtractions that have been made over the last few months, we open up our 3-point stance presented by Toyota with point number 1 here. The Eagles roster is, in fact, better than the one that won the Super Bowl in February. Guys, do we agree there's been a busy offseason? A lot of moves have been made. What do you think, Dave?
That's tough for me to say that right now. They lost some really talented players, and I think they prioritized, for the most part, they prioritized the right guys to keep, but you're going to miss a Milton Williams and a Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, all these guys who are no longer here. I think this roster has that potential, though. I really do. And you look at the guys they brought in the draft, Jahad Campbell leading off. I mean, he's just going to be so talented that, I think that their talent level is just about on par with that team. When you look around the league, it's still one of the most talented rosters in the NFL.
I'm saying, hell yeah, it's the better team.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it, you can't doubt the fact that these young guys are very good. But I'm not even going to talk about the guys we brought in. I'm talking about the guys that were on the roster last year that now know Vic Fangio's defense. So these guys are 1 year more involved to the defense, understand what he wants, how he wants it done. And then you have guys that coming in like Moro Jomo. He showed, presence to be out there and be, just as good, if not better, than Milton Williams was at this same point. Jalix Hunt. I mean, he's the perfect body size that we need to go out there, rush the passer, and set the edge. So, I mean, I love the talent that we have right now. I think it's a lot better than the talent we had last year, and simply because these guys are 1 year more into this. And, it's just going to be a better team. Look at the linebacker position. I mean, that alone should have everybody excited about what's going on here in Philadelphia.
Right, but I do think as the Eagles are returning 17 starters on their team, and you look at this offense as a whole, it's basically the same besides Tyler Steen. I do look at the defense, and you make a great point that they are just going to get better year 2 in that Vic Fangio system. But the newness on defense, really the only player I look at is Jahad Campbell as taking a step in the right direction here.
Well, I mean, Barrett's point about Moro Ojima is really good. I think Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, there's a lot of potential for these guys to be really good. Now, you can point out and say a lot of this is projection, right? And
all projection.
It's a lot of projection. But I will say Vic Fangio deserves the benefit of the doubt because every single young player that played a prominent role in last year's defense got better throughout the season. So I think it would be foolish to think that that's impossible for every young player to do that again. And I thought Vic put it really well earlier this training camp where he said, there were a lot of questions last year too, and that worked out all right, I think, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily going to be perfect like it was last year, but Vic deserves the benefit of the doubt for sure.
He really does.
I mean, yeah, guys losing weight to come in to play.
Yep.
Say what you want to say. This defensive line is going to be a lot better when you have guys that come in and are focused on going out there and accomplish one specific goal, and that's being better version they have.
Yeah, and we do know while the secondary might not be better, one of the keys to this Eagles roster success is good drafting. Case in point, Cooper DeJean, who burst onto the scene as a rookie second-round pick last year. DeJean was a guest on the Takeoff with John Clark podcast promoting the breakfast pizza at Casey's out in the Midwest, and he was asked what's changed as he heads into year 2.
My confidence has definitely grown from year 1 to year 2. I mean, I feel like that's natural that happens just because we're in the same defense. You know the ins and outs of the defense. You've been in games, you've been in the fire with these guys. So you're able to play more confident. You can definitely see it with Q and the way he's been playing throughout this whole training camp. But it's been awesome to kind of grow into try and become more of a leader in our defensive back room.
We'll point to here quickly, guys, but talent and versatility. Is Cooper the key to the success of the Eagles secondary? Dave, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And he's going to be on the field for 100% of their snaps on defense this year, mostly still as a nickel corner, but he'll play some safety, or maybe he'll play outside corner in the base package. He's just too good to take off the field.
Absolutely. Cooper DeJean is going to have to be a very big year for him for the secondary to stay at the success they had last season. As we move on now, Howie Roseman faced a tough decision at wide receiver wideout and went with undrafted Darius Cooper over Anaya Smith, his 5th rounder from last year. And Barrett, point 3 here. The Howie making the right call here, keeping Darius Cooper. He was definitely the training camp darling, but letting go of Anaya Smith is tough. It is tough
because he was the only returner that we had right now that took some reps as a returner. But we're talking about a guy in Cooper that's just a bigger, stronger, faster, more intense type of player. So, I mean, he's just going to come in and fit the bill as far as being a guy and go out there, make those 50-50 ball, 50-50 catches, strong hands, run gadget plays. He's the total package, when they look at him. Maybe he does become a returner to teach him a little bit, but I love the fact they kept him.
Right, and Dave, it was no doubt that he was the guy everyone was asking about every single day, and he was a guy that we were forced to talk about because he kept making plays. So credit him. It's the definition of go out and force yourself to make a team because we knew nothing about this.
He earned his spot, point blank. He was better than Anaya Smith all summer, and that's not a shot of the knives. Like I think everyone saw, right? We saw Darius Cooper show up and make plays every single day, and Nick Sirianni brought it up during camp. It's not just the splash plays. Like receivers are going to make splash plays here and there. It was the consistency with which he played the entire summer. And he did everything well. He was good as a receiver. He was good as a blocker. He showed some prowess on special teams. And you need all those elements if you're going to be a reserve receiver.
We are back with some more news. Former Eagles reserve quarterback Kenny Pickett has been traded again. The former Steelers first-round pick who saw action in 5 games last season for the Birds was dealt from the Browns to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 2026 5th-round pick. Back in March, the Eagles traded Pickett to Cleveland for a 2025 5th-rounder and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who was waived yesterday. A lot going on there. We stay on the topic of former Eagles for today's Birds Report presented by FanDuel Casino. Get your thrill on Howie Roseman got his roster down to 53 players. Many cuts were made. Dave, who was the most surprising to you?
For me, it was actually Patrick Johnson because it was someone that lost last year after Week 1. He played in that Week 1 game in Sao Paulo, and then he leaves. He gets claimed by the Giants. He's gone all year. I thought he was going to make this team. I assume he'll be back on the practice squad. He's a vested veteran, so he doesn't have to clear waivers this time. He's just a free agent, and if no one else calls, I think he'll be back.
Yeah, that was interesting for sure, especially when you look at just the depth as a whole there. But Barrett, who was your most surprising thing here?
I mean, that is somebody surprised me. Patrick Johnson, he's one of the rush-ins that every time you give him an opportunity, He plays well. He makes a splash play. But I'm going to go with Nia Smith. You know, Nia Smith has been a returner for us. Well, he's supposed to be a returner for us. They drafted him to be the returner for us. Now that he's an opportunity to be the returner for us, they cut him. So I don't know who's going to be that punt returner that we need right now, explosive. Because he showed some ability when they did give him an opportunity to. But, I mean, you just didn't have enough roster spots right now to have him on the field just to be a returner. So, you know, I don't know who's going to be that guy. We talked a little bit about it. What, David, you said maybe Dotson?
Maybe Jahan Dotson. He got some reps there. And look, Nia Smith can be back on the practice squad, and they can play that kind of roster gymnastics.
Bring him up,
and until you have a spot for him. No, obviously, Cooper DeJean is still here. Vic Fangio doesn't want that.
No, absolutely
We know Vic Fangio doesn't want Cooper DeJean returning punts, but he did a fair job at it last year, and that's an option too.
Right.
Yeah, more on that in a little bit later because there is a lot on Cooper DeJean's plate, that's for sure. But now the eyes of the team and its fans turn to the regular season just 8 days away, looking at the competition for 2025. Is this NFC East race tougher or easier this upcoming season?
I'm gonna say it's going to be just a little bit tougher because we have one more guy in the mix. You know, with this the Commanders team being as good as they showed us last year. You know, of course, we're thinking we are the best team. We are the top dogs. We are the best team in the NFL. But when you have those type of races with, you know, going out there and try to run the race against Dallas and run the race against, you know, the Commanders, both of these teams have bad blood against us, and we don't like them. So it's going to be a great, tough, competitive NFC East for once.
You know what? I think there's two ways to look at this. On one hand, the Cowboys are probably going to be a little bit better.
Yes.
If they have a healthy quarterback, I don't think they're going to be great. I don't think they're going to suddenly challenge for the division, but I think they'll be a little bit better. I think the Commanders might be a little bit worse, and that's not saying the team's necessarily worse, but they arrived too early last year. No one expected them to be in the NFC Championship game. So I think that those two teams end up kind of meeting in the middle, which is still well below the Eagles atop the division.
Yeah.
Right. I think something we definitely have to pay attention to when you talk about this division as a whole is one of the, if not one of the best players in the division is Micah Parsons, and what's going to happen with that in that Cowboys team. We heard Brian Schottenheimer say that he's going to have a limited snap count week 1. You got to think if that contract's not done is one thing, but this is a player who, as of right now, is not in football shape. And there's a difference between in shape and football shape.
Football shape is a lot different. You know, it's not like basketball where you can go out and play basketball in the corner or you can play baseball in the park. Football, you're going to be pushing and grinding. He'll be going up against 350, 360-pound men play after play after play, and you cannot replicate that just by going out there and running on the track or running in sand or whatever. It's hard to try to replicate the condition you need for that. So him not playing, even though he's a great player, you can't expect him to go out there. That's when injuries happen. You know, I mean, and plus, you know, you just don't want to do that because he hasn't been with the team and practiced with the team. So I thought likelihood of him really playing in this next game, I don't think he will. But if they say he plays a little bit, we'll see.
Micah on a pitch count is music to the ears of Jordan Mailata
no question,
and Lane Johnson. He's a handful, and it's
they may sleep a little better.
Also avoidable.
Yeah.
Just also avoidable. He's their best player, one of the best players in the division, one of the best players in football, and it's hovering over that team.
It really is. But, Dave, you mentioned the Commanders, and it's funny because I feel like everyone I talk to keeps saying that the Commanders are going to take a step back. But I look at what they did in free agency, and I look at this roster. I think they're going to take a step forward. What do you think, B?
You know what? They're going to probably be in a position where everybody has the book on their quarterback now. He caught the league by surprise, and defensive coordinators get paid millions of dollars to stop these quarterbacks. And when they look at how he plays and, you know, you look at the weapons they brought in, they might be a little bit better, but will it be better than the Eagles? Will they be able to compete with the Eagles? I doubt it seriously. Their defense stays stagnant. So I think we'll have the upper hand as our offense against their defense. I just think this team is just a far superior team than they are, and it won't be close.
I get what you're saying. It's just tough for me to say they're going to take a step forward when they were in the NFC Championship game last year.
That's a big step forward.
That next step is going to the Super Bowl, and I don't think they're ready for that. So, I think the only way for them to go is down, and that's just because they were such a surprise team last year. They have such a veteran roster. It's a weird dynamic because the Eagles are probably the heavy favorites to win the division. They're a much younger team than the Commanders, who have kind of gone all in while they have their quarterback on a rookie
Deebo
contract.
Samuels, I mean, he's old as Bethesda, you know what I mean? Does he still have it? I mean, you got a team that, they're starting middle linebacker. I probably played against him back when I was playing. He's been elite now. But seriously, they are an older team. But I do see them being okay, but just not to the comparison of the Eagles and the quality of players that they have here in Philadelphia.
At least they figured out their contract.
Sure did.